Okay, today we're going to do a nice little floral. Get back to basics. I haven't done a floral for a little while, so tried it in those little YouTube shorts that I've been doing. But tonight, it's actually night time here in Australia. I'm going to do one of these nice little florals. I've got it all set up on my tablet there, and I will put up the photo if it's not already up. So I'll just move that little canvas. That again is just a little 200 by 200 canvas, stretched. I've got a pack of 4 of them, nice and cheap. I think about $5 from, yes, again, beautiful old Kmart here in Australia. So I've got them, and I'm going to just put some, I've already got some titanium white on my little saucer there, which is my makeshift palette while I'm not at home. Okay, I'll just push that up there for a second. I'm after some magenta. Have we got any magenta in this little collection? What are you? You are crimson. Yeah, I'll put some crimson aside. And I'm also after some nice pink magenta. I don't think I've got it in this pack. I'll be back in a second, see if I can find some magenta. No, unfortunately I don't have any magenta, but I do need some yellow ochre. Yep, I'll get out some yellow ochre. Might even get a little raw sienna out. And what else have we got there? So what I'll do is, I haven't got the magenta, but I will mix up some. I just was a little lazy and couldn't be bothered, but looks like I'm gonna have to mix up some nice pink magenta, which is, magenta is just a darker pink. Okay, now what else are we looking for? Got my white on there already. I've already got my white out. Got those colours there. I'm gonna need some sap green. How much more I've got left of that sap green. And yellow. Where are my yellows? Let's go steal them from another pack too. Okay, here's my yellow. I've got lemon yellow there, and I've also got some, I'd say that'd be a medium yellow. Yep, medium yellow. Now, I'm not sponsored by any art people like Montmartre or Matisse or by Derivan or Golden or anyone like that. So the paints, or even Anko, which is a very cheap brand from Kmart, I'm just showing you that you can pretty much make these beautiful little artworks without having to break the bank, which I say pretty much in every video. All right, let's get this going. Okay, I've got the kettle on, so I'm going to make myself a nice brew in a minute, nice little cup of tea. And in the meantime, I'm going to start getting some of these colours onto my little palette. And this will go, so this, if you look down the bottom of the painting of the actual reference, thanks, just, you see that? Straight in the white. Couldn't have just went to the side of it like that, it had to go straight into the white. So, off to a great start already. So these 3 colours, I'm not going to mix them, but there's also a bit of grey in there too, I've noticed. So I am going to put just the tiniest little bit of Mars Black onto my saucer as well. I shouldn't say saucer, I should make it sound more arty. My palette. Right, okay. Just going to put that aside. My lights are in the way. Got my old Dad, You're the Best. Let's smash the bottom of that. So that's now my art cup. It's going to come over here a little bit. Now, this is my little makeshift studio. I'm not at home at the moment. I'm working away. So while I'm away, why not spend my evenings doing some painting as opposed to watching Netflix or Prime or whatever, Stan. All right, I'm just going to bring that over a little bit. Can you see those colours there? Now, that Mars Black is going to be very, very strong pigment, so I don't really even want to get the corner of that onto my brush. But I am going to start to make a little bit of a go of this, add a little bit of that water. Now, of course, that's not going to show up because it's just white, but I'd like to get a little bit on there, and then I'll start to add a little bit of that yellow ochre to the mix. And as you can see from the reference photo there, it starts to get a little darker down the bottom. So look, this is only going to be very, very loosely based. I'll try and get it fairly close to the reference, but I'm not too worried. To be honest, I really want those flowers to stand out a little more than they are from the reference. Reference probably looks awesome on the screen, but it's just on my little tablet here. Right, I'm going to need a little bit more white, so I'll put a bit more of that white on. Always a little boring in the beginning stages. To be honest, I was watching YouTube channels, some art videos on YouTube. Thought, oh, what am I doing this for? I shouldn't be making my own. So hence the late start, which is about 10 o'clock here in Australia at night. Have worked all day, but I had a pretty good night's sleep last night, so I'm going to wake up, especially once I start to get into this painting. All right, now I'm going to just start to add the tiniest, and I mean the tiniest little bit of yellow ochre. You know what? I can see some pink in there too. And I've just happened to look across to the right of my little area here, and I've got some little bit of purple, which I think might suffice. So I'm going to add that before I go too crazy with that yellow ochre. Let's just see, because I want this to be a little very, very dark. So what I might do, now when you do make a little bit of mistake or you put a little too much pigment on, don't worry, all is fixable. So I've got my little, you probably can't see it there. So I've got just a little Chuck's cloth or a little kitchen cloth there, so I can dab off and dry off my paint or sort of move that around. I will get another glass of water too, because I want to have a fresh water that I can use. Now I've got a little bit of that mauve, or very, very light purple, and a little bit of that, oh beautiful, a little bit of that white there. Look at that, it's starting to just bring that out now. I'm just crisscrossing here, and I'm not too concerned about, like I said, really chasing down that reference photo. Oh, I love that purple. That's really working out. I don't know if that's translating well onto the screen, but it looks really good from here. I'm happy with that. Glad I've seen that little colour sitting over the side there. I thought it needed a little something else, and I'm going to just add a little bit more of that because I love it. And see how I'm just crisscrossing here. By looks of the reference, it's kind of flowing off to the right, that background, but I'm not gonna conform. I'm gonna be a rebel. Right, let's pick up a little bit of this yellow ochre, throw it in there as well, because I don't want to stray too far from the reference. I'd like to leave a little bit of that, and I believe that yellow ochre will really push those beautiful, whatever flowers they are. I wouldn't have a clue. I'm not a botanist. But I just think they look pretty cool. And they're just an AI generated image that I got off of Ideogram, which is a great little site. Again, no sponsors of mine, but yeah, I come across them through Sarah Crisp, who runs Wholesale TED, which is a bit of an investing, believe it or not. She does all sort of entrepreneurial sort of videos, excellent finance videos. She's great, and she's talking about using this ideogram. So I had a little bit of a look, and wow, it's fantastic. It's AI generated. You can pretty much tell it whatever you want. You can also, if you want to make birthday cards or images, it actually does text as well on the AI platform. The ideogram, a little bit like ChatGPT. It's always hard to say that, ChatGPT. Oh, now I am going to add like I said, you got to be so careful. So I've got too much of there. It's going to so I'm just going to wipe that off over to there, and I'm going to grab some of that really watered down black, or Mars black it is to be precise. Yeah, not too bad. Not in love with it, but I think it needs to be there. So now I'm going to come over the top again of that and just add a little bit more of that white and mauve. I'd say it'd be mauve, light purple. Yeah, that's starting to bring out some texture. Loving it. I'll keep bringing that through, that little bit of grey, I'll call it. And my kettle has actually gone off, so I'm going to pause when I get to the bottom of this and make myself a lovely cup of tea. I feel like a coffee, but I'm not going to have a coffee because it's, like I said, late here tonight. And if I have a coffee, I'm going to be laying there till 3 o'clock in the morning going, oh no, I've got to get up, go to work. Why? Why did I do it? I know tea has caffeine as well, but it's not as bad. All right. Doesn't seem to knock me, it doesn't keep me awake as well as, I'm going to just let that sit for a bit, give my brush a quick little wash off, and then we'll come back to seeing if I want to add a little bit more. Back shortly with a nice brew. Okay, as you can see there, I've just gone to a little darker and adding a little bit more of that raw sienna. Raw sienna or raw sienna dark. Keep running out of that white paint. And I'm going to add some more mauve. Like I said, then we will even add a little bit of that monastral / sap green. And see, I can soften it back down. If I feel like it's getting too dark, or I'm not really happy with it, I can just soften that back down with a little bit more white added in. And because it's just so, oh, now that is a little bit too much. I still want to keep that over there. So, and I also want to have a bit more of that purple. It's another thing too, while you're painting, don't ever feel that you've wrecked anything, because sometimes it's just changed. That's all that you've done. You've just changed the setting a little by making some tweaks or some alterations to your artwork. And it's not that it's actually wrecked, but you straight away will go, oh no, I wish I didn't touch it. It looked better before. And sometimes it is the case, but very rarely. And even if it is, it's not like it's the end of the world that you can't fix it. All right, look, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that white and I'm just going to lighten that down. Just a tad over here. And then I'll add some more mauve. And bring that up through here. Bring that over there. Loving it. I wonder if I should grab a bit of that darker colour. Like I said, you really don't want to be using too much of this Mars black. So I've got Mars black, I've got a yellow ochre, I've got a titanium white, and some raw sienna. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to bring a little bit more purple. Oh, just clean that brush off a little. Starting to build up a little bit too much of that raw sienna, which is quite opaque, which just means it's opaque means that it's a stronger colour, not so see-through, transparent. Yeah, that's right. I'm just going to dull that down a little bit. Probably doesn't really matter. I really should be painting my sides too, which I will. So I'll just, that way you can sit this on your desk or anywhere you like, and it'll just pretty much look the same way all the way through, transition nicely. So I'm just going to let that transition nicely, so as you're walking around the sides, you don't really need to frame it now. I'm just going to add a little more of that mauve, bring that in through. Doesn't really need to be framed because it'll just, if I wanted to, I could put a little stand on the back. Might as well better do the top. I'm a bit lazy tonight. I wasn't going to paint. I thought, oh, I don't feel like it. I thought, what am I talking about? Don't feel like it. What's that got to do with anything? I know if I sit there and whinge and carry on when I can't get to it. And when I can, I don't go and do it. So I thought, just go and do it. And like anything, when you start and pick up that brush and the creative juices start to flow, you come awake and you're thinking, oh man, I wish I'd have started this earlier. Right, that's the top done. I like leaving a little bit of texture too. It usually dries flat anyway. You think, oh, that's going to be nice, big textured lump of paint. But usually it doesn't. It's a little underwhelming. Half the time it just pretty much dries fairly flat anyway. If you really want to add texture, you can get an additive, and that will be like a gel or something that you can mix in with your paint, and it'll really wilt then. It won't dull down or flatten out. It'll stay nice and prominent from the canvas. All right, really liking this. Bring that down there. Excellent. All right, we're all painted around the edges now, so I can't go crook myself for later saying, oh, I've done all that, now I have to go and paint the edges. All right. But believe me, been there, done that. Why didn't I just do that? You know what I'm going to do tonight? You know I'm going to eventually go and reach over that and grab that. It does look a little bit like tea. I'll have a swig of my nice brush cleaning water. Well, I reckon there's two yellows. So there's definitely a bit of lemon yellow. And I'll put that down that way. And there's also some medium yellow, which I won't get too carried away with. But, and I also think there's a little bit of that. I reckon monastral green, but I'd rather olive, but I don't have any olive green. So I'll use a bit of this monastral, which is really almost a fluoro green, as you can see. Bring that over. Just gonna very, very lightly mix that with the yellow, the lemon yellow, that monastral. I'll just see how we go there. No, not happy with that. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this sap green, if I've got any left, that is. Yeah, a little bit. And mixed very, very, very loosely. Mix some of that. Now I'm just trying to grab the edges here. You go a little bit broad with your brush or your palette knife. Don't worry about it. It's really, in the scheme of things, if you do a good enough job on the subject, everything else will just sort of, even if it doesn't look right at the moment, will kind of just blend in the background, and your brain will pretty much cancel it out anyway. Now I want to try and get some curves here, as you can see. So I've just mixed a bit of that sap green. I might even still grab a little bit of that monastral, that sap green there. And I'm just, you know, pretty much going to, I'm sitting down at the moment. I probably should be doing this standing up. But I got a little bit tired standing there. That's good. It's excellent. I've got a massive cut on the end of my finger, and it really hurts. So I'm trying to do this without hurting myself too much. But I'm happy. I'm actually liking this. It's nice. Very subtle. It's very, very subtle. It's almost like a watercolor, this. So I'm going to use that in the going to use that in the description, and you really can. That's, oh look, I love acrylics. I mean, I know they haven't got the appeal oils do, but for me, acrylics are just so versatile. They can look like an oil, they can look like a watercolor, and they can of course just look like an acrylic. But there's a lot wrong with them, but there's a lot right with them as well. All right, I'm loving that. I'm absolutely loving that. I'm wondering, do I paint? I'll paint the stems last. Now I am going to just pick up, I'll clean that off a little bit. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that medium yellow now that we've had. Hopefully you can see that. I'll bring up a bit of that medium yellow now, and I'll just find some of these stems that I've already done and just bring them over the top of it. Not working out as well as I like, so I'm going to now just grab a little bit of that lemon, mix it in with the medium. Yep, that's better. Nice. Nice. Yeah. I'll just grab a little bit more of that. See that one that went right down there? It's real yellow. So I'm just going to break that up with a little bit more green at the bottom of it. Bring a little bit more of that darker green, just for a little bit of interest's sake. I'm just gonna push that out a little bit like it has on the reference. Got a little bit of a yellow sort of blend there. Like I said, it's AI generated, so I don't have to really worry about it being too accurate, if that makes sense. Right, I'm gonna grab a little bit more of that yellow over there. Just try and grab a little bit more of these coming through. Nice. I'm sort of happy with that. I'm just going to grab a little bit more of that there. I'm just going to start to meld that a little bit more. Blend that into the bottom. Bring that in under there. Suddenly I'm in too deep. Even those things there. Right, okay, right. Oh, I'm so tempted to try and do those stems, but I'll try and get those flowers in and then I'll paint the stems in later. A lot of artworks are reverse engineering. When you look at an image that you'd like to replicate or at least use as a reference, it's pretty much like you can't just dive into the main subject. A lot of the times we want to, we're so excited about it, but really you need to do some preparation, and that's reverse engineering. So if there's a blue background in there, I would paint the background first. Then if there's trees in front of that blue open sky, then I'd paint the trees, then I'd paint my flowers. So you're pretty much always reverse engineering. So that's if you're going by an image that you're referencing to. Right, I'm going to use the crimson. A little bit of that crimson. If I can get it out. Yep, of course I can. Get it not anywhere, but I did where I wanted to get it. Then I'm going to use a little bit more of that titanium white, and I'm going to put that aside. That way I can be in control of mixing this. Looks like it might even have a little bit of, I could possibly get away with a little bit of that vermilion, which is a red as well. but I'm just going to start off with just the tiniest little bit of this crimson and start to mix that in to my titanium white. Like I said, I'm not too worried if I don't get it exactly like the reference. Loving that. Actually, you know what, I mightn't even worry about getting that really mixed in. I might try to leave some of these nice crimson streaks through the painting. Like I said, I wanted to bring out that vivid colour a little more anyhow. I'm happy with that. Let's see how we go. All right, I don't think I even have one of my favourite brushes, and anybody that has been following me for a while would know what my favourite brush is for pretty much any work, and that would be the good old Filbert. My good old Filbert. Have I got a Filbert? I don't reckon I have. No, I don't think I have. And I reckon you might be a little too big, so I'm just going to come down to, oh, I haven't softened that out. I'm just going to grab a little bit of this. And where will we start? So I'm going to just use the corner of my brush and I'm going to drag that down, try to keep the top straight and curve the bottom. And bring that back in. Let's go to the top. I'll curve it out, fan it out. And now see how I'm curving the brush? I'm just going to curve that back in. And we'll come out the top here, bring it in. And now I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of that crimson. I will revert to a different brush later on. Bit more of that crimson for the bottom. Lovely, look at that. And then we'll grab a bit more for around the edge here. There we go. Now I'm just going to bring a little bit more, probably a little too subtle that. Then I'm going to just grab a little bit more of that and bring it straight down. Not enough. Curve that again. And nice. All right, and then I'm just going to bring out another little part of that flower there. And like I said, this is just that initial stage. I'm not sure how detailed I'm going to go at this stage. Right, a bit of a gap there, and I like that gap, so I'll try to I'll just belly that out a little bit more. Grab a little bit more of that crimson, so I've got a definite line. It's beautiful. Right, now we'll get this one. And a lot of the times, even though we want to make the painting our own, if the reference photo looks pretty good and you love the proportion, try to stick with it. Just takes a lot of guesswork out of it. What I mean by guesswork is that you don't have to worry about how would I say this? If the proportion or the symmetry of the subject is already there, you don't have to worry about trying to create that yourself. If that makes sense at all. Now I'll put my green petals, my green stems and things on the bottom here. So I'll bring that out a bit. Let's come in here. And as you can see, I'd rather be doing this with a filbert, but I don't have one in this size, I don't think. And I'll just take that bottom one out. Looks like there's a little bit of a... And I'm really just letting the brush do the work. Add a little bit more of that white up there. And a little bit more white up there. Absolutely lovely. And then, yeah, well, I'll just grab a bit more of that crimson and bring that through to there. A little bit more of that crimson there. And we've got a nice big white petal at the top there. Look at this. And then, so you're curving around and kind of folding back, aren't you? Moving back over to that one. Here's pretty much a straight white at the top of this. Alright, so that one's coming down, straight down. You're going to come over that way. Jeez, that's nice. Okay, I think I could have possibly went a little higher, but no, it's pretty good. Pretty much in line. As you can see, that other flower's a lot higher in the reference. This one's a little lower. So if you have a look here at the top of that flower, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really going for absolute accuracy here, but that's a fair bit lower. So I think it looks all right. The screen's gone black on me on the tablet. So I think it's all right, to be honest. If I want, of course I can't help myself. I'm just going to take that up a little bit higher and bring that through. And I might even just fan him out, or her, out a little bit further. And then we'll start to add a little bit more detail later. Alright, and I'll bring that down, put my greens on. And just going to grab some more of that crimson, bring that through. Push that up and push you down around. Oh, lovely, lovely. Bring that out. I'm just using the absolute edge of my brush. And I'm just using those crimson highlights with the very knife edge of my brush. Got those two touching a little bit too much there. And like I said, I'm going to go over these a fair bit more yet. But for now, that's pretty much the flowers in place. And now I'm going to paint a little bit of that green at the bottom of the flower. Try and do that, slippery little guy. Right. Now, as you can see there, even in that stem, there's a little bit of yellow, there's a little bit of that crimson, and it really is an olive green, that stem. So I'm going to add a little bit more, a bit of yellow on the side here. See if I can get a little bit of that olive green happening with a mixture. Which one will I go to? Take it over here a little bit. A bit more of that yellow. A little bit more of that green. And let's see if, there we go. That's just that medium. That's that medium and a little bit of that sap green that we've got there. I think it's sap green. Yep, sap green. All right, I'm not going to play around that too much. I'm just going to, what brush will I use? I'll just grab you for a sec. Just a number 2, I reckon it is. No, that's a 6. 6 round brush. I'm going to go straight to the sap green. And I'll play around with that later on. A bit more of that yellow in there. Makes sense anyway. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to bring that down there. Try that again. A bit more in the bottom there with that flower. Really like to do that with a palette knife, really. And that one over here, we'll come over here for this one. So I've sort of gone away from my little my olive green mixture over there, and I'm just pretty much just adding the two, the medium yellow and the bottom of it and the sap green together. There's white and all sorts of things in there, but that's something we can play around with later. At the moment, I just want to get that composition in. That one kind of goes straight down, doesn't it? So go straight down. It does curve off a bit though. Kind of curves back into it. So I'll bring that back out that way. Okay guys, I'm just going to jump in here real quick and let you know that for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm playing around with these stems and I'm not that happy with them. In the end, I decided to just paint them out. So we'll just skip to that part of the painting, and you haven't really missed out on anything. I'm just shortening the painting for the sake of the whole tutorial. All right, I'm going to do something a little radical, and it's probably not even necessary because it is translating pretty nicely onto the screen. But I am not really happy with those stems. I just kind of jumped into them thinking I'll be a little more haphazard. But now looking on them, in reflection, I'd like to just get those stems a little better. Even though the flower here is a little different to the reference. It's kind of sitting upwards a little bit more. I will play with those a little. But I just want to show you that you can fix something if you're not happy with it. I mean, I could possibly leave that. Well, I could leave it. It'd be fine for the particular tutorial here that I'm trying to show you. But I think you're going to get some benefit out of this, because I think I'll show you how you can fix something and it's not the end of the world. So we've got the mauve, we've got the yellow ochre. I haven't worried about putting the, what was the other colour? I think the other colour was, raw sienna. But I'm just going to probably freak everyone out here a little bit. But don't freak out. I just want to show you what you can do. If you're really not happy with something, you can, and like I said, these stems are okay. But you can just, it's dry enough now that I can just go over that and bring that out. And we'll whack a little bit of that mauve in. And I'm just going to paint over that I hope I'm not wasting your time, but I do just want to show you that you can repair things if needs be. It's not the end all be all. With this kind of artwork, you believe me, by the end of the result, we're not even going to know that we've made some alterations. And you can also do this with your finer arts as well. Sometimes it's just a matter of calling a spade and going back to basics, back to the drawing board, so to speak, and just biting the bullet and starting over. And I will go back to the palette knife shortly and add a little bit more of that as well. And I will just put a little bit of that raw, we started with Mars Black. And as we know, we don't want to use hardly any of that Mars Black. It's just more of an accent. Just a real hint. As you can see there, I've only got 3 little dots, and that will be quite enough to be able to get those little accents that we wanted in throughout the artwork. I find that there's a few more little darker spots over here as well. Look, by the looks of the reference, I'll just see if I can put that on more of an angle. But this is, look at that. I'm just going over that now. And that is now just going to blend into that background. I've now got rid of those stems that were giving me the irrits a little, because I wasn't quite happy with them, and I'm really only being pedantic now. I really didn't have to, but I'm thinking, well, if I'm not happy with them, and I'm telling you how easy it is to fix mistakes, the great thing about acrylics is that you give them a good, well, like I say 5 minutes, but in this case, probably a little longer. Let's say it's night time, so let's just say a little longer. I've got the heater on in here. It's winter here in Australia, so it is a little nippy. So it is, you know, having a bearing on it, on the drying process. I'll just dull that down again. And I'm liking that little bit of a darker accent. We'll whack a little bit up there as well, why not? And then I'll soften it back. Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Isn't it lovely, lovely, lovely? This is what I love about art. You just can it can tear your heart out, or it could send you to the highest of highs. It's just one of those things where you go, wow, look at that. That's looking fantastic. Now we've got rid of those stems, so I'm just going to clean my brush off again. And I haven't got my other clean water over there because the shadow it casts gets right in the way of that canvas. So I'm just going to clean that brush off a little, let that dry for a second, and in the meantime I'll go back to doing some of those nice stems and yellow accents. Absolutely gorgeous, I do have to say. This little reference photo, it is AI generated, as I said earlier, and I'm quite impressed, really. And the good thing about it is I don't have to worry about copyright because it's an AI creation. Right, now let's grab a little bit of this. By the reference photo, there's a nice sort of stem that I actually quite like coming through there. That didn't come out at all, but and then I will do a couple more because, like I said, I wanted to just replace the ones that we kind of lost while I was just fixing this up. And add a few more of those. I'm going to just add some yellow in there. See if I can get a bit. Oh, fantastic. Look at that. I don't know if it can be picked up on the camera or not, but that looks fantastic with that yellow, medium yellow coming through, and the sap green. Do I want to do too many long ones away from the subject. Because I don't want the eye getting confused. You really want to, if you've got a subject happening, you just really want to focus on that subject. Make that, if you've got too busy other things happening, your brain or the viewer's eye tends to sort of look all over the picture as opposed to focusing right on those beautiful magenta flowers. I'd like to know what they are. If you know what they are, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Probably a really, really popular flower that I've heard a million times. Now I've got one there that did sort of hide a little, so I'm going to start to bring these out a little bit more. Let's just see. Now see that there's, on the reference photo, there's that yellow one kind of curling out. So let's just see if I can add a little bit of that. I might even just grab a bit of that magenta, that yellow ochre. Why not? All right. I reckon that's looking okay now, and I've just left that space to dry a little. And as I said earlier, everything can be fixed if you're not really happy. I didn't have to change it. Like I said, at the outset, I'm not going to try and get this absolutely accurate, but I did like, as I said before, if the symmetry works, try to copy it. Don't try to make something different out of it. You may as well just use that reference, if it looks good, to your benefit. Don't try and reinvent the wheel, so to speak. That makes sense, right? Probably don't have to have any more foliage than that, but I will just throw a little haphazard ones in. And I might even just grab a little bit of that yellow ochre again and just chuck a few more. Just throw a few more in, because I love it. Right. And because it's starting to get a little busy in there, there's more of a bit more mauve going on down in there and around those areas. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of that mauve, and I might even just bring in a little bit of that accented Mars black around the edges. And as you know, if you sort of darken your edges, it really does push the viewer's eye towards the subject. Just going to grab a little bit of that there, mix a whole heap of white in there. A bit more of that mauve around the edges there. Right, I'll try and concentrate a little bit more on these stems this time. I think that'll be dry enough to go over it. And let's see if I can be a little bit more careful here and really try to, I'm going to need some of that crimson, really try to get the right proportions, so to speak, for those stems. There's magenta, there's crimson in those stems, there's the sap green, there's some medium yellow, so it's quite convoluted. Don't know if that's the right term to use, but it sounded good, so I'm going to go with it. Now, grab a little bit of that water. Probably got the wrong brush. You know what? I'm going to actually go down to a smaller brush, and then I can always go a little thicker later on if I feel I need to. Just going to pause for a second and change this water. Okay, I've changed that water, and as I said earlier, I really didn't have to change these stems, but for the sake of it, to show you that you can make a repair, I may as well do it. Now here is one of my beautiful, beautiful little brushes. Got a little bit of blue there. I don't know if that's hasn't been cleaned properly from the last painting. No, it seems all right. But anyway, nice, beautiful sabre edge to, not sabre edge, nice daggered or pointed edge to it. What's this one? This one here is a number 2. Absolutely beautiful brush, but we're not using it. So I don't even know why I'm grabbing it out and showing you. We're going to go with this number. That's a 6 too, is it? That's a 6, which is supposed to be the same size as that. They are, pretty much. Well, there you go. I reckon it's a little bit more finer. Is that a word? A little bit more finer. So, I'm going to go with the crimson first. Get some water in there. Tiling it. Work on this reno I'm doing at the moment, and my hands are just splitting. So sore. But anyway, we will battle on. Now, I'm going to try and get this right this time. As right as I can get it. As right as my skill will allow. Okay, so that's kind of going around that way a bit more. And sometimes it's really hard to do a nice line, especially from up here. If I didn't have the camera in my way, I'd plant that hand and try and have more control. But sometimes that can also be just as much as a hindrance, trying to have more control. You know what I should do? I probably should have wet the yellow first. So I really like the way those stems were curving. So I'm going to try. I realized I had that other one here up too high. So I'm going to try and bring it down a little further, because the whole thing kind of looks like it's splaying out that way from the reference. And I love that, the way it is. It's just so whimsical. Too much of a curve. Now, too much of a curve. But that's not far off being right. So, grab a little bit more of that, a little bit more of that. And instead of rubbing it out because I've got that, I reckon it's right to about here. So I'll just kind of rub that out a little bit by putting a little bit more of that background colour in. And by the looks of it, it does have a little bit of that yellow ochre behind those flowers. So I'm going to do that, which I reckon will. I love that white line going through there. So I'm going to add a few more whites with the palette knife once I've got these stems painted in. They are going to prove to be a little bit of a challenge. Always the way when you've got the camera on. That should work. Now, if you are, like, normally I'd have this up on an easel and I'd be standing in front of it rather than down, which you've seen when I'm doing other larger artworks and commissions. What do I do that for? I'm straying from the mission, guys. The mission is the stems. happy with that. I will play around with that background. Oh, I'm just going to grab a little bit more. I just like those white highlights, how they're just coming through in the background here. So may as well, while I've got the white out and it hasn't gone off on me or gone hard, I may as well use it. Yeah, I'm going to have to put that heater off, believe it or not. I'm actually sweating over here. Oh, I wouldn't say sweating, that's going a little far, but get it warm anyhow. Do I do some splatters later on? What do you reckon? Some people hate splatters. Oh, I hate it when you use the splatters. I love the splatters. Just because it just seems to add that, to me, that little, you know, little bit more of control that I'm letting go of. Okay, now we'll go back to these stems. See how I can actually pull these off tonight. What have I done here? I've got a bit of a... I'm going to grab... I'm just going to put some... I can almost get away with the yellow ochre. Look, I'm not even going to clean the brush. I'm just going to come over the top of this with a bit of yellow ochre. It's not going to work, is it? Alright, where's that sap green? Need a little more sap green. Here's another little trick too, when you want to get away from being, I don't know if I've got enough of a knife edge on the edge of these guys. Here's another little trick you can do too. If you're not really happy with your lines, you can always grab a little bit of just the edge and you just can press on the canvas or the paper or whatever it is that you're painting on, and it just seems to lend to that disjointed stem, so to speak. I'm just using the edge of that, and I can see a little bit of darker green which comes out to the crimson there. Kind of baubles out a little bit there. And then I'll just come into that crimson again over the top. I do want to keep it quite thin though. I think that's what's lending to that absolutely beautiful, beautiful flow of this composition. Oh, that's kind of more of a... Now I've got a little bit of crimson at the top of my brush. I've got yellow ochre in there, and also a little bit of sap green. May as well bring this one down here. I'm going to bring this one out to here this time. Kind of curves a little, and then we've got that little stem coming off there. Just grab a little bit more of that sap green for that one. And there I'm just dabbing it onto the canvas, not really painting, so to speak, and more dabbing. It's Oh, I've got this big one in my hand. I think I was going to use that. Right. What was that one? 20 mil? I'm liking that now. Just think it's got a little bit more of a flow to it. So just again, I'm just dabbing that on. And again, another thing, if you're not really happy with the way it's looking, you think, oh, you just sort of get a bit of a funny feeling in your stomach. You think, oh, that doesn't look right now. Move away from it. Move away from it and just go to another area. And you'll find that your eye will either get used to the way it looks now as opposed to the way it did look. And if it still stands out, then you need to change it. If you come back and go, oh, what was the problem again? To that area. Oh, that's right, I didn't like that. For some reason. You think, well, it looks all right now, because your brain's got used to the way it looks now. Just straighten that one out a little bit more. I'm going to get some more of that yellow. Definitely need some yellow in there. Look pretty. Rather whimsical. Beautiful. Oh, what's that? Where'd you come off? And I'm just going to paint in that stem there. Now over here we've got some nice yellows happening, so I'll just step away from this side for a moment. Oh, well, I want to get a little bit of that yellow there. Look at that, there's some yellow in here too. Pretty happy with this. Look, quite pretty, quite whimsical, which is, you know, what I'm after. Now, I've just had a big droplet of water come off my brush, which is a good thing. I want to show you something. If a bit of water comes off your brush and you don't want it to sit there on your artwork, just grab a tissue, just a normal tissue. This one's got something in it like sort of lanolin or something, but a normal straight tissue, and just dab it and bring it off. If you need to, move away from that section for a minute while it dries. It shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to grab a little bit more of that yellow. I'm going to plant my hand there. Okay guys, I'll just skip to the flower part now and to the petals because it's dragging on a little bit. I just keep playing around with these stems and you kind of get the idea. I'm pretty sure that you've seen I'm tweaking them. I'm dabbing on with the edge of my brush. I'm changing out to my rounds. So let's move on to the flowers just for the sake of speeding up this tutorial a little. Now the white does dull down a little bit, so don't worry about it looking a little too stark or whatever. It will dull down. It's kind of, they're folding over themselves, those petals, and those sorts of shades, but I'm not going to go that complicated. I'm just going to keep it fairly simple, otherwise you'll never get this video, it'll take forever. I can get that, but for the beginner, it'll be a little daunting. Now, I'm going to go down to a flat shader, it's called, and this is a number 6 as well. Little flat shader. And I'll just start to add a few little of these little highlights again. these will stand out again once I start to get those whites back in. Alright, I'll go out to this round brush, number 6. Just start to add some white to these outer edges and just some nice highlights. Just make your own little patterns. Try to bear in mind the way it looks, but don't bog yourself down with the detail. Not if you're just starting out and you're just wanting to make a pretty little floral and start to wet the brush, so to speak. Dip your toes into the art, into the world of art. I'm just dabbing away here with the tip of this brush. I'm loving that. And again, this is just the crimson and the titanium white. I think we'll just go the straight crimson just to finish off with some more some more dark highlights. Start from this edge and we'll work around. Really make them, and to better highlight, sometimes to better highlight some of these outer wider areas, you can just sort of kind of just dab in around some of those areas just to make it look like there's an actual outline of the flower. Even if it doesn't exist, it just might help you make it stand out from the canvas a little bit better. As Bob Ross would say, this is your world. People say I'm like Bob Ross. I don't even know who the guy was until a little while ago. I must admit he's brilliant. Glad I've got to know the guy existed. Absolutely brilliant. Beautiful nature too. Right. Enough of that. Enough of that sultry stuff, sulky stuff. Right, I'm just gonna see if I can get a little bit more white in there and behind here, just to add some more highlights. Yeah, I'm liking that. See how it's just sort of brought that out a little bit? If anything, there's actually a little bit of orange in there. Why not? Let's do a little bit of orange as well. Like I said earlier, vermilion red actually. There you are. Vermilion red. Just tap a little bit of that on there. Straight orange. Get a bit of orange. A little bit of that vermilion. There we go. Throw a bit in here. Wow. It's starting to really make this stand out. Like it. A little bit of orange. Just mix a little bit of that orange into that. Titanium white. I'm just going to accent the bottom of these just a little with that. Clean that off. Just grab a little bit more of that there. And just blend that into it a little. Very, very basic blending, but still blending nonetheless. But we do want a prominent edge. So we'll go back to a bit of that crimson, straight crimson, and I will just again have a prominent edge against that background. But I tell you what, now that I've got that in, I will just switch back to a little bit of that orange and a bit of that vermilion. Nice. Very pretty, pretty, pretty. Oh. I won't play around with it too much, but I will just grab some more of that crimson, bring that crimson through there. That's nice. All right, let's do that over here now. Grab some of that, and I'll just accent the edges of this flower. Like I said, it's not totally accurate, but it will just sort of add some highlights to the whole thing. A bit more orange in there. I think the orange is actually a little bit more perceptible, if that's a word, than the vermilion. There's a nice crimson line through there. It's probably actually green, but I'm going to go with crimson. Don't think it'll look out of place. So I'm going to bring that crimson, straight crimson, bottom here. And then I'm going to follow that through. I might even take that up a little bit. It kind of comes out and using the very tip of the brush, straight down into there. And we've got a prominent edge here as well. Smooth that out here. Probably a little bit too much water there, so I'm just going to get away from that area. This is why you need these little chucks cloths to be able to really drain the water off that brush, because they will pick it up. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of that orange again, just add it to that little bit of crimson there, and I'm just going to add a few more little accents and highlights in around this outer edge here, just so it looks like there's an actual edge to the whole flower. And I am going to get, that's right. What's this one? Have you got any sap green? Yes, I've got some sap green over here. Yay! Right. Get that in there. Far too much on the brush now. And see how I'm just curving that off? Sometimes you can just paint an edge. That's why you'll see me sometimes just paint the edge of the bowl or the saucer there, because I'm just trying to unload a little bit of that paint that I've got on my brush. Right, I'm just going to nice brush. Right, I'm going to come around here and I'm going to add a little bit more length to that petal. And then I'll just blend that down into there a little bit. Add some more white to it. see, I'm just feathering the top of that canvas just to kind of make it look like there's an outline. The top, sorry, top of the canvas, top of the petals there. I'm going to grab some of that straight crimson. A little bit of that. It's got a little bit of that green in it, but I'm not too worried about that. Now I'm just playing around now. Really, there's a curve there, but I'm not going to try and baffle anyone with following these around. I'm just going to play around with those lines, the prominent lines that you can pretty much see. And bring that around a little bit more of that dark green edge. Wow, look at that, that really made that stand out. Apply that one over there as well, as an actual flower that really stands out from the crowd. Nice. All right, let's move on to this one. Might as well stick with that colour considering I've got it on there. When it starts to gum up a little, get a little too hard to move, just add a little water to it, and that will let it glide off the brush again. Just going to add some more white highlights, and then I'll come around those highlights again with that darker crimson. I hope you're getting something out of this. I'm just about done. And shouldn't say that because everyone clicks off then. But anyway, it is what it is. Right, that's really quite cute, I think. I'm just going to add a few more darker highlights around these edges here. A bit more of that. Darker highlight, as I said. Get it there. A bit that crimson, grab a little bit more water because it's starting to thicken up a little bit. And as I said earlier, it doesn't really have to make sense, any of this. Just needs to look good. All right. Like I said, I hope you got something out of this. It was a little bit longer than I'd hoped, but so as you can see, beautiful, colourful little floral, and it's not that difficult, but quite effective. Thanks for watching.